Here we are again. Penn State football has more breaking news. Nobody else is fired. In fact, James Franklin talked about having the right people in the building, and it seems they found the next quarterback that they want to add to the Penn State football building. I'm Thomas Frankard. That is Sean Fitz. He's here to tell you who is next for the Nittany Lions. So, Fitz, who's next?
Penn State is on the board at quarterback in the class of 2025. Bekkem Kritza from Boulder, Colorado, Fairview High School. He's been in a couple schools, actually, but he's back at Fairview, has had a tremendously productive junior season to play off of his freshman season. But he's a three-star quarterback by the On3 industry rankings, the number 33 quarterback national, the number one prospect in Colorado. Pretty much a couple of services have him as a 3-star. One has him as a 4-star. So he's a guy that's had a decorated history. He's similar to T.A. Cunningham. He's in that same little group that T.A. is in. But yes, Penn State on the board with a quarterback in November.
Timing of this, does this seem surprising to you?
It is surprising. It is surprising just based on what's still on the board. We had talked on the show last week about the options that were coming in. And Kritza, by the way, we believed he was coming in. We had to wait for his confirmation, which came actually Friday morning. So he didn't make his way into that show. But Malik Washington, Matt Zollers, Ryan Montgomery all visited over the weekend for the game against Michigan. Kritza visited as well. But yeah, Kritza wrapped it up before he left, told James Franklin on the field before, actually in the office before the game, he wanted to come to Penn State. But yeah, I'll be honest, yeah, a little surprised just based on what's out there, just because of logistical purposes. I mean, you're going to Colorado to take a quarterback when you've got a couple of guys that you've targeted in one hand for a long time in Malik Washington in Maryland. You just offered Matt Zollers in Pennsylvania, and there's a couple of other ones here as well. Carter Smith off the board to Michigan today as well. So the quarterback dominoes continue to move. Seems like Bryce Underwood's probably going to go to LSU. So yeah, I think it's one of those things where he saw his opportunity and jumped on it.
So from a perspective of Kritza is an interesting, you mentioned T.A. Cunningham. What's Kritza's story of moving around the country and being a kind of a transplant wherever he's been, right?
All right. We're going to get this one down here. Kritza started at Fairview in just south of Boulder as a freshman. He threw for 3,192 yards, 23 touchdowns as a freshman, led the state of Colorado in passing yardage as a freshman. As a sophomore, he went to California. He was a backup for the guy that ended up signing with Washington State. So he played sparingly in California, which was the same school that T.A. Cunningham was at. And then both of those guys went to Miami Central, and he was supposed to play for Miami Central as a junior this season. Didn't work out. I haven't looked too far into it. Didn't work out. Of course, T.A. is now back in Georgia with his mother. Bekkem and T.K., T.A.'s younger brother, are back in Boulder, and he was able to play, I believe, in 6 games this season. Had to sit out, I think, a couple of the first month of the season, and then he came back and they did the thing. So hopefully everybody was able to track that and went from Colorado to California to Florida, back to Colorado, where he's now back to his original high school.
So everybody got that?
Yeah, from a baseball's reference, yes.
Everybody from a perspective of what does he bring to the table, 6'5", 185, seems like you and I both seem to think lots of potential here. Good arm, right, Fitz?
From an arm talent perspective, there aren't many better in the 2025 class. This is a guy that can flat out sling it. He doesn't have a ton of experience. Like I said, he played as a freshman in Colorado, and then he went to in California. He didn't really play that much. So like he was just like, I don't want to call it a wasted year, but it didn't work out. Now he's back in Colorado. He's back, I guess, in a more comfortable situation, and he's putting up numbers. And if you look at that, there aren't too many guys who can flick the wrist and throw it like him. Like there's a definitely a feeling of, hey, Malik Washington does this, and he's got this sky high ceiling, and he can really throw the ball. He can run. Matt Zoller's a gamer. He can run and things like this. This guy is a pure thrower. Like he doesn't have the athleticism of those other guys, and I think that's probably why his ranking is a little bit lower. But yeah, in terms of just like being a thrower, he was surprisingly like it comes out. I mean, he whips that ball. He was at camp this summer, the final mini camp with Ethan Grunkmeyer. Both of them threw a really nice ball. Like I said, there's an athletic difference there. Kritz is not the guy that's going to move around, which is very curious. And I know Penn State doesn't have an offensive coordinator, but like we've talked about how important the quarterback run is to Penn State, and to see them go with what you would typically, what we used to call a purely pro style quarterback is interesting to me.
6'5", 185, definitely a lot of room to add muscle and strength onto that frame, and already a whippy, strong throwing motion. So lots of potential there, and I guess that's the idea, that a 3-star player with a ton of upside, you add that player now and then hope to still continue to do work in this class?
I think so. I think you have some sort of a loophole here where you don't have an offensive coordinator. So if you want to take a guy right now, and it's not the same as Bo and Drew, because Bo was on board with Kirk Shiraka, and then they made the change, and then Mike Yurcich went out and got his own guy in Drew. I mean, it's kind of like that, but it's not exactly the same. So I think Penn State's going to continue to recruit other quarterbacks. They're going to, you always want to have as many of those scholarship guys as you can on the roster, but be very interesting to see which direction they go on this, because like I said, those guys that are closer to home make more sense, in terms of really logic, if we're just going to go straight on the head. That was probably the most interesting thing. I don't want to say you always set out for 2 in a class, because quarterback can be so volatile in the portal. Like, you're always going to lose somebody. Lost in Christian Veillere last year. You're always going to lose somebody. Maybe you see it coming, maybe you don't. But you just want to have you don't want to be caught sort of with your pants down there without as many scholarship quarterbacks as you want. This is a guy that's going to fit into the pro style pocket passer quarterback thing more than the other guy. And maybe that helps you recruiting another guy too. Maybe that you don't want, there's no such thing as complementary quarterbacks, because you're not in the same, field at the same time.
Yeah.
But you can make an argument to a guy who is a little bit better of an athlete that, hey, we're bringing in a guy, but he's not really like you.
Yeah. Different style of quarterback. We want to have, however you want to sell that, right? I'm Thomas Frank Carr. He is Sean Fitz. This is the Blue White Illustrated breaking news about Bekkem Kritza, quarterback joining the Penn State Nittany Lions. If you want to get the information before anybody else, subscribe to BlueWhiteIllustrated.com, because Fitz has been tracking this. He took a phone call while we were recording a podcast earlier this week, so he's known about this kind of stuff. And if you want to know about it, subscribe right now for $1. Get access for a month. It's a great way to get into the system, and then once you get in there, you're never going to want to leave. Like, it's a happy, joyous place, the Blue White Illustrated message board, where everyone's having a great time, and that we really enjoy the end of the Penn State football season. Fitz, and any final thoughts as we get out of here on Bekkem Kritza and what he brings, or what you're looking forward in 24 or 25 as recruiting starts to heat up now that we get into the end of November, heading into December?
I just pulled up his junior stats here. 129 of 197 for 1,747 yards, 20 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. So it's good to see the touchdown to interception ratio where it's at. In terms of competition, I don't know. I'd like to get out there and see him, but no, it's different. But in terms of 2024, 2025, I mentioned it on the show a little bit earlier, actually today. 2024 seems to be winding down, more of a focus on the portal to fix or to patch the holes of what you're looking for in the actual 2024 roster. So, of course, receiver goes in there. So a couple other positions that we'll talk about on BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. 2025, pretty wide open right now. Not a ton of commitments going on. When you look at the big picture nationally, it's kind of an in-between time. You've got guys that are just finishing up their junior year, guys that are trying to, assert themselves at a certain spot on the board. Quarterback, a little bit different with the dominoes that are going on, but it's just not a big time for commitments right now. But Penn State had a good weekend this past weekend, hosting a ton of kids for the Michigan game. You've got another opportunity this weekend, and then you sort of move on to the next step and bringing in official visitors in December, and then getting back into the junior days. So it seems like we're just about to push off of this 2023 season and get into that ever loving off season of this recruiting cycle.
My wife was super happy. I'm like, we're almost done with the football season. Don't worry. And she's like, football season is never over. What are you talking about? You're never done.
Absolutely right.
So we will be giving you all that information. You make a great point. Ryan Snyder getting reaction from the from the last Penn State football game against Michigan. How are the dominoes falling on that side? How are recruits reacting to the information? That's the stuff you want to know, BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. And, of course, you want to subscribe here on the YouTube channel, absolutely free for you to do. And we'll give you all the breaking news and information, insight, conversation, and added context here on our YouTube channel. Again, I'm Thomas Frank Carr. He is Sean Fitz. We will talk to you next time there's breaking news from Penn State football and Blue White Illustrated.